This is The Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals, Episode 10. Today, I'm talking to a business owner about strategies he uses to attract the type of media attention that many others crave. How does he do it? What does he use? Is there anything that we can learn from him and apply to our own businesses to attract that level of media attention? Now, we dive into the detail to allow you to reap the same rewards. So, let's get started. Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome. This is The Business of Glamping and Unique Holiday Rentals. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I have a very special guest for you today. His name is David Leventhal, and he is the owner of Playa Viva in Mexico, which is an amazing resort which is known for its treehouse and iconic structures. David is a high-energy entrepreneur with a huge amount of experience in conservation, community development, sustainable travel, and hospitality. He and his wife Sandra created Playa Viva, a resort known for the bamboo treehouse, which is everywhere. If you look anywhere on the internet, there are pictures of his treehouse. They are also very well known for their regenerative business practices. He advocates sharing best practice and has been so generous to be a guest here today. He's going to be sharing his knowledge and a strategy for success that he uses when he works with partners to attract his future guests. So without further delay, let's head on over to the interview. Thank you so much, David, for joining me here today. It's so amazing of you to generously give your time for this audience to learn from you and your experience. Welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. It's so nice of you to invite me and Playa Viva to be part of what you're doing.
Well, I've seen you at the Glamping Summit a couple of times now, and we've chatted a lot about your strategies that you use for your own resort. And I've seen your amazing resort, and it's all over the internet. You have such a high level of standard of service, and your coverage is simply amazing. So I know that the listeners will get a lot from you in terms of learning from your experience. So can you give us a little bit of background about you and where your business is based?
Sure. My personal background is more in media and technology. I'm not originally a hospitality person from a hotel background, although I did work in restaurants from when I was little and put myself through college that way. So I guess I am or have been in the hospitality business for a long time that way. Our hotel Playa Viva is located, or our glamping site, or eco-luxury boutique hotel, however you want to categorize the experience that is Playa Viva, is located on 200 acres, about 1.3 kilometers of beachfront, about 40 minutes from Zihuatanejo Ixtapa International Airport, which is on the Pacific coast of Mexico at the base of the Sierra Mountains. It's beautiful, pristine beach. There's nothing for as far as the eye can see in either direction. We're lucky about that, and the mountains rising in the background. And we've got, a wonderful team in place and have been operating the hotel or the property now for 10 years.
And it's a place that is on my bucket list, I would have to say. It's absolutely beautiful. If you see the images, and I'm going to be including some of the images in the notes for this podcast, so in the show notes, and a link so that people can go and check it out and see what you have there and what you offer. And tell me a little bit more about the types of services that you offer your guests, including your iconic structure, your bamboo treehouse.
Sure. Well, I think at a base level, we want hospitality to feel like you're at your beach home, that it feels like it's your place. I think another thing from an experience standpoint is when I travel, I hate to be nickeled and dimed, as we call it here, where, you go to the hotel or to wherever the property is and you got to pay $5 for a bottle of water. We like everything to be included. So the experience is you're met at the airport with a sign that says Playa Viva. You're whisked off. You arrive at Playa Viva. There's no keys. You're kind of toured around to show you what the place is like, taken to your room. All of our meals are family style because we're kind of in this remote area. All the food is included. The food is what I would call healthy Mexican with an international flair. We try to source as much as we can. Right now, it's probably about 15 to 20% of our food from our own farm to table, and from the local community. And then as far as experiences, we like to really allow folks to be immersed in nature. Part of being at Playa Viva really is about disconnecting to reconnect. And it's not about just coming from a very overscheduled life to an overscheduled vacation, but to come and relax and disconnect. We include yoga for free, but it's really kind of stretching for the newbies, and then allowing folks who know what they're doing and have a strong practice to go deeper into that. We have spa services that we can offer, massages for people to enjoy and relax. And then a set of excursions that are available as well to travel around the area to get to know the area. We also have a full-time permaculture person, which is your gateway into the 200 acres, 86 hectares that make up what I call the back 17 of Playa Viva. And we also have a social and environmental impact officer who works with our turtle volunteer in the turtle sanctuary camp, where we do baby turtle releases, and also works in the community with some of the activities that we do, engaging with the local community on education, health, and general economic development. So that part of what we try to do is engage people in the landscape and in the community that we're part of. So it's a fully immersive experience.
That's the thing that I found so impressive when I found out about your resort, which was your sustainability and your eco credentials are incredible. And what you do in the local community and everything that you've designed around your resort is absolutely considering the local environment and the community in which it's based. Is that been a huge driver for you? Has that been your passion?
Well, yes, definitely. I think our motto is what we call where your vacation meets your values, and our personal values, beyond just making you feel at home and having Playa Viva be your beach home, is really aligning with our own values about making the planet a better place and making the communities that we serve stronger and more resilient. When we embarked on Playa Viva, my wife went off to the Green Build Conference, which is the LEED certification that you see often around buildings, and interviewed a lot of different folks related to getting involved in the development of Playa Viva. And the group that resonated with her is a group called Regenesis. And to kind of paraphrase their position, the idea is being green is about doing less damage. Being sustainable is net neutral, and who wants kind of a net neutral relationship that's going nowhere? And being regenerative is making things better. And at first, when I heard that, I kind of, was skeptical about it, because I thought that wherever humans built, we degraded the landscape. And Bill Reed, who's with Regenesis, has said, yes, that's correct. In most cases where humans come in, we do degrade the landscape. But if we understand the history of place and what the place was before we got there, and we understand kind of the hopes and dreams and aspirations of the community, we can be part of stewarding and bringing back the abundance that was once there. And that was kind of a paradigm shift for me. And I think also part of this whole regenerative thought process is really working with a whole systems thinking approach about how we do things as well. And so we definitely embarked on that journey in doing things in a regenerative way, which involves some of the basics as far as green, where we're 100% off-grid solar. We process our own gray water, our own black water, and we have the farm to table program. But a lot of the work that we're doing in the regenerative way is understanding what the landscape was before we got there. When we arrived, it was the 200 acres was coconut grove, mango, tamarind orchards, and farmland. It hadn't been worked in 15 years. But even before that, it was a coastal forest. So we found a piece of coastal forest that we could get some seeds from and regenerated the forest and bringing in some of the original trees that are there. Obviously, we decided, okay, some areas we're going to keep as productive, coconut, tamarind, mango, but other areas need to be brought back and reforested. Another big area for us is the mangrove. Many of the folks in that community just cut the mangrove down, and the mangrove is vital for the environmental services that it provides. It's the inland version of the coral reef. That's where a lot of the life begins in the water for that area. And so we completely restored the mangrove, restored lagoons and other wetlands that had been devastated by cattle and invasive grasses. And so that process now, 10 years later, to be able to walk out onto the landscape and see a tree that I can now barely get my hands around, that was just a sapling that when we planted it, that's very reassuring about the process that we embarked on in aligning our values with how we develop this out. And that's really, I think, resonated with many of our guests who tell us that Playa Viva just checks all of their boxes. And now they want to know, where are the other Playa Vivas of the world?
Well, maybe there will be a listener now thinking about how they could develop their own. But essentially, you are still a business and you have achieved immense success in getting media coverage that so many others would be envious of, quite frankly. And you must have used a strategy around that. And when we met in America, we talked about a strategy that you've been using about working with partners and working with influencers to help you share your message and share what you're doing, and ultimately to attract more guests and guests of the future. Can you tell us a little bit about that strategy with influencers that you employed?
Yeah, great question, Sarah. And our business, as far as, travel, leisure, is very much about that, what's now become that Instagrammable moment. Everybody wants to say, look at me and where I am, and aren't you jealous that you're not here right now with me? And that can serve our business and our industry very, very well. We've been lucky in that we've been approached by a lot of folks in social media. And as a result, we've really learned how to work with social media to our benefit. And so we really encourage and have developed an entire social media strategy based on the number of followers folks have and their engagement and their alignment with our kind of values as well as with our guests, and get a lot of folks who come down, photographers, models, videographers, who have created a lot of content for themselves and in the process created a lot of great content for us. We started out early on when we opened doing a photography contest as a way for us to generate a lot of great free content for us to reuse, but that's really changed to having a social media strategy and gaining an immense amount of amazing content for us to put out there that really shows how amazing the experience is at Playa Viva.
And I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? That it's through someone else's eyes as well. So it's not necessarily the business telling the customer, look what we have. It's actually a customer telling another customer, look what I've just visited. And that seems to really resonate with the future customers, because they tend to believe customers more than they believe businesses now. There's a lot of mistrust, isn't there?
Sarah, that is right on, especially since there's so many fake reviews and things like that on the internet. You really don't know what to trust. But when you have a personality on Instagram that you follow, and that person goes to a hotel and you see their experience there, yes, you definitely are going to trust that so much more than you are what the hotel says about themselves. And related to that, I thought that every single picture of Playa Viva that could ever be taken has been taken. And every day I'm just amazed at the creativity and the eye and the point of view that so many different people bring to the table. And there's stories to be captured every day in what we're doing anyway.
Mm.
So that's what's so wonderful about being able to partner with the right folks who are uh, talented and aligned and can help us tell our story to their audience.
And so you recently worked with a team of influencers. So tell me about that a little bit. How did that happen? And
Hmm.
what was your experiences there?
Sure. You're referring to a relationship that we have with an organization called H Collective. Um, this came about serendipitously. I was approached by two young gals who are in Southern California who said, "Hey, we found your place and we'd love to come down." It was in July, so it was in our shoulder period. And between the two of them, I think they had about 200,000 followers between them, and they had fairly good engagement rate. And even though they were a little bit younger and didn't seem to fit exactly within our um, kind of guest profile, I figured that their parents who follow them are in our guest profile. And I said, yeah, come on down. And they took some beautiful and amazing pictures of the two of them. And then I started following them because, they'd been there. And I noticed about 3 months later that there were some photos of them taken in Yosemite National Park. And they were just beautiful photographs, well taken. And I texted them or direct messaged them and said, you know, hey guys, what's this all about? And they're like, oh, we're part of this thing called H Collective, in which they're bringing together photographers and models and brands. And the company happened to be located up in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I personally live. I don't live at the property. And so I went down and met with James and his team who managed that. And they were telling me about how they're creating this hub, this collection, this tool to allow all these influencers to connect with each other. And he needed to do a trip to um, kind of as a gift to their top contributors, and said, hey, can I come down to your property? I was like, perfect. So they brought down over 10, maybe I think it was like 12 or 13 uh, influencers, photographers. Combined total between them, they had about 3 million followers. And over the course of the 3.5 days they were there, we got over 10 million impressions from that. And our Instagram popped from probably, 3 to 4,000 to about 8 to 9,000. And since then has been growing much, much faster as a result. We have, I think, close to 17,000 followers on Instagram, which is pretty good for a property like ours. Um, and so since then, we've really developed a strong relationship with them to understand how to work more effectively with social media influencers. And they've come back to other trips. They were down to Playa Viva recently. They finished a big project with EDF, which is the Environmental Defense Fund. And as a bonus for the team that worked on that, that team came down to stay with us. And they ended up not only taking some great images, but made a series of videos for us on specific topics, wellness, community engagement, romance that we wanted to promote. And those we'll be able to put back out on the social media channels as a result too. So it's been just a phenomenal relationship that we've developed with that organization.
That's amazing. And based on your experiences, what would you recommend to others who are thinking of doing a similar thing? Because you were very lucky, this kind of came to you. It just kind of all worked, all the pieces fit together. Is there something that you would recommend to others who are thinking of doing similar?
Well, I think first of all, embrace the technology, as we talked about earlier. Um, our business is a very visual business, and Instagram is, as you kind of said, it allows for that bucket list creation. You look at it and go, okay, I want that, and I tag that, and I save that for later. And so, um, as people reach out to you, develop a strategy for responding to them efficiently and bringing in the best people, and uh, be open to it. Social media influencers um, can build that audience very quickly for you. And I mean, we do ask our customers how you heard about us, and more the response is, "Oh, I found you on Instagram. I found you on Instagram." So embrace it without a doubt. What we've done is, because we approach so many times now, is we actually developed a satellite page on our website for social media influencers that says, if you have X number of followers, 10,000, 25,000, 50,000. We've created kind of these thresholds. You get this amount of discount up to a point where if they have, I think it's 100,000, they get a free stay with us. I think we even put up there that if they have 1 million followers, we'll pay for a plane ticket for them to come visit us. And we've had folks come to us with that many followers. Luckily, it's been through other folks like H Influencer, or another group was a group called 109 World, which is kind of an outgrowth of Yoga Gal, who has over 1 million followers. She's one of the first yoga people that got over 1 million followers. 109 World does trips where they do health and wellness yoga combined with a social impact component. They came down in December, so just last month, and did a trip with us in which they worked with a local turtle sanctuary in building a new turtle sanctuary, because we need to turn over the space where the turtles are hatched every few years. And they ended up doing, hundreds of photographs and 3 short videos for us as well as a result. And they had a couple of social media influencers with them that have over 1 million followers. So those are the kinds of things that, as folks come in or groups come in, if they bring social media influencers with them, that's another way of leveraging it without you having to kind of pay out for it.
It's clear that I need to start working on the number of followers I have. And
Well, it's not just the followers, it's the engagement. So
yeah, absolutely. That was going to be my next question, is that do you pay attention to the engagement? Because as we know, in this world, people can buy followers, and they are empty seats. People aren't there. They are literally fake accounts that are set up to make it look like it's a follower. And I wondered if you had a strategy in place to be able to monitor people's engagement and whether that plays any part.
So we do track our numbers, which Instagram as a business account allows us to look at our audience, our engagement, and what we're doing. I think, as a user of Instagram, the folks that you check in on most often are the ones that appear kind of higher in your feed, along with whatever the advertising is that you get. And so, once Playa Viva becomes a bucket list item for folks, we move further and further back in that list. I think what helps us move up in that list is the more we do stories. People seem to like to track our stories more than they do our photos, and then that begins to get liked. So it's really a cycle where you really do need to kind of feed the monster to make sure that it gets the connections that you do. But I think in general, folks put us on that bucket list, and that's the most important thing for us.
And how do you actually get the stories done? Do you have your staff? Are your staff the ones who do that, or do you do it directly, or do you have a social media manager? How does that all work?
Yeah, so believe it or not, I have been doing our Instagram up until recently. And in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be turning it over to somebody else to kind of manage our Instagram, just because I think we've set enough of the look, the feel, the branding, everything else from that. And now I can turn over to somebody else. And then a lot of the stories actually come from guests and groups who are already there who are publishing their stories. And when they tag us, it comes up in our feed that, or in our DM, that we've been tagged, and then we republish their stories. And then some of our team on the ground, usually the folks involved in the social media impact, I'm sorry, the social and environmental impact work, they're the ones who capture some of the local stories that we feel are more germane and important to what's happening at Playa Viva. And they have access to post that content as well. So it's a mix of other people's content and our own.
So what have you found to be the most successful strategy so far of all of that? So, or is it just generally you feel that you need to have an overview of doing all of it, and together as a whole it has an impact? Or is there one particular thing that you've done that has had quite a big impact in one go?
So, Sarah, great question. And I would say it goes back to what you said earlier of trust and the photos that our guests post and tag us Playa Viva that their friends see is the most valuable and successful thing that can happen. So encouraging folks to do that. So having the Instagrammable moment and having people post that is what works the best of everything. And luckily for us, as you mentioned, we have this treehouse, which is picturesque and provides that Instagrammable moment. And so a lot of people take that image or try to find a unique angle on that image that they can take. Uh, we also have so many other great things available in the 200 acres. The turtles, like so many photos that get posted are of the release of the turtles that people tag. So that I think is primary, based on all those items you mentioned. Trust from the community that you know. Um,
Yeah, I think that's you. Yeah, that is from my experience as well. That's exactly what others are talking about as well, and generating this desire for people to want to actually tell the story on your behalf, which you've done so many times and so well, incredibly well. And I think it's something that really helps to strengthen the foundations of a business when people are talking about it so positively and so openly and without holding anything back. And you obviously have a lot of natural beauty. Not every business has that. But there are other things, other methods that can be used, and other events that can be talked about, and other experiences that can be created for the customer. So in terms of your business, what's next for you? Because you've managed to achieve such extraordinary success, and you've been able to set up this resort. It's really helping to regenerate the local area and the community and the environment. And it's where can you go next?
well, I think there's two areas. The first is not rest on our laurels and really invest in our team and continue to build our team. We've added folks recently. We have a new person working in the social environmental impact space with us who's just been fantastic. We just added a full-time permaculture staff person that's just been a great addition to the team, and training with the team continually on how to improve the service and service offering. It's all about the guests having a great experience. So I think that's one. The second one that I personally have been working on is, um, as mentioned, we get guests who say, we love what you're doing here. It aligns with our values. It checks all of our boxes. And Playa Viva has become a destination all of its own, where folks find Playa Viva and then ask us later, well, where's the airport? Where do I fly into to get there? And once they come here and have that experience, they ask us the inevitable question of, where are the other Playa Vivas of the world? Where else can we have this similar kind of experience that checks all of our boxes? And that's something that I've been working on over the last couple of years, and recently have launched a project called Regenerative Resorts, which is a collection of independently owned and operated hotels like Playa Viva that are dedicated to the highest levels of social environmental impact and work in eco luxury, so that they are affordable, not over the top expensive, but not too rustic, to not make it a common experience across guests. And that collection now has, I think we're up to about 15 or 16 properties that have signed up for it around the world. And that should be expanding as we go forward, so that when the phone does ring and people ask us, hey, do you have space at Playa Viva for such and such date? And we are full, that we can recommend one of these other great properties that are doing wonderful things like we are. Because there are so many great properties out there, so many great folks who are committed to creating a great experience for the guest within the environment and the communities that they're in.
It's very, very exciting. And yeah, my bucket list just got a bit longer. So where can listeners find out more about you, Playa Viva, and regenerative resorts?
Yes, regenerative is hard to say.
Clearly it is.
Well,
it's been a long day.
Well, you're not the first one. And we've had some branding discussions. Is regenerative the right word? And my background, as I mentioned when we started this, was in media and technology. And in technology, the idea is you want to be where the market's going to be 5 years from now. And 5 years ago, people were just moving from green to sustainable. And 5 years from now, people are going to be moving from sustainable to regenerative. And regenerative is going to roll off the tongue. I think you see regenerative a lot in kind of regenerative braking, or you see in regenerative agriculture or biology, those kinds of things. But it's definitely going to be a big part of travel going forward. Where can they find us? Well, Playa Viva, PLAYA, V as in victory, IV as in victory, A.com, or just search for us online and you can see videos on YouTube about us. There's been a lot written up about us. And regenerative resorts, you can just type in regenerative resorts.com and we will appear as well.
I'm sure everyone else will deal with that perfectly, and it's only me that trips over it. But yes, I will include everything in the show notes, all the links, and a couple of images as well to show people what there is there, and to help people find you, and so they can get in touch and find out more about coming to visit you, and finding out about your new projects and everything else that you're working on. It's a very exciting time for you.
Sarah, thank you so much. We'd love to have folks visit, and we'd love to learn about other folks who are doing similar things as us, and learn from folks as well and their successes that they're having with social media. So definitely looking forward to following you and more and the work that you're doing as well.
Yeah, thank you, David, and thank you for your time today. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye. As we know, building a successful business takes time and effort. So what David has just shared with us can really help us to get to where we want to go faster. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this and found it useful, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Check out the show notes on inspiredcamping.com/podcast. And if you want some extra help with your business, then go on over to inspiredcourses.com, where I offer a multitude of resources to help you from marketing your business to setting it up in the first place. And if it's a community you're looking for, we also have the amazing Facebook group, a community of like-minded business owners who are all giving their time so generously to support each other. See you soon.